I'm just going to ask him. Yeah. All right, it is 7:11 p.m. I will call this meeting to order. This is the July 26, 2023 regular meeting of the Schertz Planning and Zoning Commission. Item number 2 on the agenda is the seat alternate if required. We have Commissioner McMaster with us this evening. Item 3 is hearing of residents. Now, it was a little confusing tonight because we had 2 meetings, so So 2 people did sign up. All right. First up is it Stanford Smith? Not here. How about Sarah Serrato? Where's the microphone, Sam? So. You both going to speak?
I'm actually only going to, I'm going to be the only one speaking, but
All right.
I'm speaking on her behalf. Can y'all hear me? Okay. Okay. Good evening. My name's Sarah Serrato, and I'm going to be reading this on behalf of my mom, Beverly Owens. She resides and owns the property next to the proposed gas station site. The specific use permit acknowledges the location, functionality, or nature of this request could have a potential negative impact upon surrounding properties. We feel that having a convenience store with 2 restaurants, a drive-through, automated car wash, and 16 fuel pumps will negatively impact our health and right to enjoy our property. We ask that the Schertz Planning and Zoning Commission deny the request for a gas station development at this location. Our concerns are as follows. We use a water well for our source of drinking water. We are concerned with leakage from the underground fuel tanks and runoff from surface pavement contaminating our drinking water. The increase in air pollution from fuel fumes, and exhaust, especially with a drive-through, there is an increase in exhaust from idling vehicles. Light pollution from overhead lights and vehicles turning into the store and drive-through will infiltrate my home and yard. Noise pollution from vehicles, store customers, and car wash. Safety is also a concern as these types of businesses increase the number of vagrants and pedestrians, increase traffic, which will also make it difficult and unsafe for me to enter and exit my driveway. We are also concerned with the impact this business will have on our property value. I am worried that living next to a gas station would take away my right to enjoy my property to the point that I will have to move. If this is the case, I would not be able to sell my property and relocate because my property value would have decreased. Allowing a business like this next door to my home and property will considerably impact and impede me and my family's ability to enjoy my home and outdoor living, which I have done for the last 32 years. Please take into consideration the concerns we have brought to you as a fellow Schertz citizen when making your decision. Thank you for your time and service to our community.
You're welcome. Thank you for the input. So again, Stanford Smith. I can't hear you, Emily. I still didn't hear you. These are old ears.
Now I'm going to be yelling at you.
Okay.
We have one additional resident that I think signed up or tried to sign up on the other one.
Yeah, that's okay. I just want to make sure I give Mr. Smith his opportunity. Okay, again, since there may have been a little confusion, I'm just going to open it up. Now, be aware that the special use permit that's on the agenda, let me double check. But that is a public hearing, so you don't have to have been signed up to speak about that. But if you'd like to address the commission now, certainly come up. I'll need your name and address for the record, and try to keep it to 3 minutes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Commissioner and Commission members. My name is Henry Conway. I am currently the quartermaster of the Veterans of Foreign War that is adjacent to the proposed gas station and from BK 515 Investments. So we turned in a letter of in support of this establishment to go ahead and, because they're basically, putting in a gas station that's been there for so many years. I've been here, a member of the VFW for the past 18 years, and the past establishment there really did not take care of the location. We, the VFW, was helping clean because the residents around the area were dumping all kinds of, household stuff. There was a 46-foot boat that was left right next to, the gas station. And for some reason, the hacker got somebody towed it away when we started cleaning the place up. So on behalf of the VFW Post 8315, we are in support of this because it will not only enhance our operation so we can better support our veterans, but they've cleaned the place up. They've totally removed all the hazardous stuff that's been placed there for so many years. So with that said, again, we are in support of BK 515 Investments to erect the proposed gas station and food establishment. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, sir.
Talk to you or talk to them?
Talk to
Talk
us.
to all of us?
Talk
Okay.
to us.
I'm Michael Martinez. I'm the President Commander of the VFW here in Schertz. I've been a resident of Schertz, Texas since 1972 when we closed Laredo Air Force Base. My parents joined the military and been going in and out. I remember when it was a Starlight Theater. There was nothing wrong with that road back then, as far as what you got today. Then I watched them build the gas station when I came back to the United States. It was okay in the beginning. But about 20, 25 years ago, when business started going down or whatever, and the gas station wasn't being utilized, the drying part like that, they had long-term customers staying there like 3-4 days with mattresses and stuff. It was a little unkempt. Today, along with my quartermaster and the members of our VFW post, we support the idea of that place getting cleaned up and a new business coming in. The pluses for us is this. We've got a small problem with the people with the BMX crossing. They got a little raceway in the back of the post. They do donuts on our parking lot. There's beer cans and trash put on the yard and stuff like that. Where the film house used to be, the snack bar, I'm out there cleaning up because we used to go out there and cut the grass and stuff to keep the grass down. I found the remnants of skins of rattlesnakes. Okay, so now rattlesnakes is okay. I mean, you just stay away from them. But we've got kids who are the dependents of our members who go out there when we have car shows and chili cook-offs like that. They're out there in that back parking lot, and you know how kids are. They're going to wander off. Well, I did, because that looks interesting, so I'm going to go out there and go check out that building or whatever. They tore it down, and it's a lot better. So in lieu of all that, I think I said enough, right? Okay. We support that, and just hurry up, pass us, and get it built. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, sir. Anyone else? And again, it'll come up and during the public hearing. You'll have an opportunity to speak about the specific use permit. Okay. All right, moving on. Item number 4 is our consent agenda. We have 3 items on that agenda. Item number 4A is the minutes from the June 28, 2023 regular meeting. 4B is PLFP 2023-0173. Consider and act upon a request for approval of a final plat of the FM 1518 Schertz multifamily apartments. Approximately 15 acres of land generally located 2,200 feet southeast of the intersection of Lower Seguin Road and FM 1518, parcel ID 309999, City of Schertz, Bexar County, Texas. 4C, PLFP 2023-0148, consider and act upon a request for approval of a final plat of the Royal Manufacturing Phase 3 subdivision, an approximately 87-acre tract of land to the south of Tejas Way, approximately 750 feet west of Door Lane, also identified as parcel IDs 412335, 74404, 74490, 74458, City of Schertz, Comal County, Texas. Commissioners, there's no discussion on the consent agenda, so do we need to pull any of these items for discussion? If not, can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
That was Patrick. Okay, I have a motion to approve the consent agenda from Commissioner Ray, second from Commissioner McMaster. No discussion. So I'll call for the vote, and we'll just start that in and come around to me.
Aye.
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 Aye. 7 ayes, none opposed, the motion passes. All right, item number 5 is a public hearing. The Planning and Zoning Commission will hold a public hearing related to zone change requests and replats within this agenda. The public hearing will be open to receive a report from staff, the applicant, the adjoining property owners affected by the applicant's request, and any other interested persons. Upon completion, the public hearing will be closed. The commission will discuss and consider the application and may request additional information from staff or the applicant if required. After deliberation, the commission is asked to consider and act upon the following requests and make a recommendation to the city council if necessary. So item 5A is PLSPU 2022-0116. Conduct a public hearing and make a recommendation on a request for a specific use permit to allow a convenience store with gas pumps on approximately 5.5 acres of land, more specifically described 1008 and 1020 FM 78, Schertz, Texas 78154, also known as Guadalupe County property ID numbers 67650 and 67552, City of Schertz, Guadalupe County, Texas. Emily?
Good evening, Commissioners. So as you stated, this is for PLSPU 2022-0116, a specific use permit for 5.5 acres. Emily Delgado, Planning Manager. So the subject property is outlined here in green. You can see FM 78. To the north of the property, here is that subject property. To get further bearings, this is the VFW here located. So on July 7th, 13 public hearing notices were mailed to the property owners within 200 feet of the subject property. As of this meeting, we've received 2 oppositions, we've received 2 additional, so we have 4 in favor, and then we have 1 response that's neutral. So the subject property is currently zoned general business, and you can see the adjacent properties are also zoned general business. So that subject property, again, outlined here in red. This is their specific use permit exhibit. Again, just identifying that property in the 200-foot buffer. So the proposed SUP is requesting to allow a convenience store with gas pumps on that approximately 5.5 acres. It is 2 separate parcels at this point, but they're trying to incorporate both of those parcels into this SUP request. Per the submitted letter of intent, the SUP, if approved, the development would consist of a 6,500 square foot convenience store with gas pumps, a 2,500 square foot Burger King fast food restaurant with a drive-through, and a 2,040 square foot restaurant, again with a drive-through, and then an automated car wash. So this is a conceptual site plan exhibit. I know it's a little difficult to see, but that's identifying it on the entire 5.5 acres. You can see the back portion of the property, most of which is within the floodplain, is not proposed to be utilized for the proposed development. Zooming in here, you can see the proposed gas pumps, the automated car wash, the convenience store portion, the Burger King with its drive-through, and then the proposed other restaurant with its drive-through. And again, this is just conceptual, so if the if the SUP does get approved, it will still go through the formal site plan process, so there may be modifications to this exhibit. This is just that conceptual. Here's that landscaping plan, so you can see a significant amount of landscaping along 78, which is not there currently. Additionally, there's quite a bit of pavement that is there from the previous gas station. They would be coming into full compliance in terms of the trees and the landscape islands. Additionally, they would be providing the required buffer between a commercial use and a single-family residential use. So you can see that here, the proposed 8-foot masonry wall and the proposed landscape buffer. This is a conceptual of what the building itself may look like. And then a conceptual of the car wash. So the comprehensive land use plan does identify the property as both commercial campus and parks and open space. So the commercial campus is for lower intensity commercial, office uses, research, flex office, supporting uses, that light industrial. And then the parks open space is for sensitive areas such as floodplain. So as I mentioned, the back portion of the property really is floodplain, and that's where that parks open space is identified. The proposed business would take advantage of the FM 78 frontage, as it is, of course, a convenience store. It's transportation oriented, and it would rely on that traffic generated on FM 78 as that principal arterial per the master thoroughfare plan. So kind of going into the staff analysis, of course, the subject property had that previously had a convenience store with gas pumps and a car wash that had been abandoned. From the aerial imagery, it appears that the site was used as a convenience store from at least 1995. Prior to that, the aerial imagery gets a little blurry and you can't quite tell, but at least 1995, it was used as that convenience store. And then in fall of 2022, the structures were demolished with the ultimate goal of being to obtain a specific use permit to beautify the property, create that new gas station that's being presented tonight. So just so we all kind of have an idea of this is what the site looks like today. You can see that the previous gas station, the building itself has been torn down. You can still see the price per gallon sign on the site, and the pumps are still there. But you can see that it is a vast array of pavement, currently. And just a different angle, different light of it. So if the specific use permit is approved, again, the applicant would go through that full site plan process in conformance with the UDC and would have to meet all of the requirements of the UDC of Article 9, Article 12, and of Article 10 in the parking ratios and dimensions. Additionally, since the site is along FM 78, a traffic impact analysis would be reviewed not just by Schertz Engineering, but also by TxDOT as well for the drive approaches and for any kind of stormwater detention requirements as well. So due to the limited adverse impact on the adjacent development and the compatibility between the proposed land use and the comp plan, along with the land previously being used for a convenience store with gas pumps, staff is recommending approval of the SUP to allow a convenience store with gas pumps with conditioned upon the following item. A building permit is approved within 2 years of the adoption of the SUP ordinance, and that is in accordance with UDC Article 5, Section 21.511.3, expiration of a specific use permit. So it's not a abnormal condition, that's a condition straight from the UDC for SUPs. And the applicant is here and would like to make a presentation as well.
All right, thank you.
Hi, good evening, Commissioners. Ashley Fairmont, Killing Griffin in Fairmont. Nice to see you all And thank you, Emily, for the very thorough presentation. So I don't want to be too repetitive, but she did touch on quite a bit of what I'm going to touch on as well. So just a little bit additional site history that we have been able to obtain. We believe that the gas station was originally built in around 1970, so it was there for quite some time. And as Emily mentioned, the structure, the gas station, the car wash, and the canopy over the pumps was demolished at the end of last year. The buildings were in disrepair. I'll show you some pictures in a little bit. There was people living at the site, maybe some illegal activity as well, so it was best for the safety of all if those buildings were removed in anticipation of hopefully building a new convenience store with the gas pumps along with the new car wash and the new food service. I do want to also mention that you see the pumps that are still there, so those will obviously be removed. There's an old tank that was, keeping the gas. So that will be removed as well when the new tank is put in. I do want to mention on that, I know that with the old tanks, there were not the same safety requirements that we have today for the new tanks, which are much heightened to what you see there. And that was important to the owners too when they purchased this property is what is the environmental status of the site now. So they did a phase 1 environmental and a phase 2 environmental, and the result of that was actually those tanks have held up well, and there's been no groundwater contamination. So the site is clean, and then we'll go ahead and remove those and put in the new tanks when the convenience store is constructed. As Emily mentioned, the existing GB zoning throughout the area. So what we're really needing the SUP for is the gas pumps. So the convenience store is permitted, the restaurants and car wash are permitted as well by right. These are some of those existing structures. So this is towards the back of the property that were there, and this was the condition of those you can see before they were removed. And then this is a close-up of what that convenience store looked like before it was demolished. So this is just an idea of what would be built. As Emily showed you the elevation of the project, but this is an idea of what the gas pumps would look like, as well as just similar type quality of project that show the joint convenience store with restaurant uses. So the elevation here, I just wanted to point out the materials. It's a little bit hard to see, but there's a lot of masonry in this building. There's polished concrete, brick, stucco, metal roof. It'll be very high quality. And then this is a layout. This is as if you were facing the building from 78. So the Burger King would be on the left. That's about 2,500 square feet. The convenience store is very large. 6,500 square feet is what's proposed, and that's a very large convenience store. So the idea is to also have some additional groceries and other services for people. And then on the right-hand side would be an additional restaurant, but that tenant has not been identified yet. Let's skip through that one. So this is just the site plan. Again, a little bit challenging to see on the property. The property is about 5.5 acres. As Emily mentioned, the back portion is floodplain, so that will remain undeveloped. And then in front of that would be the convenience store, restaurant, and then the gas pumps. Compared to what was there before, it's really pulled back from 78 as opposed to being very close. You can't see it very well, but there will be a 20-foot dedication for 78 expansion in the future. So that's part of the plan. That will be landscaped now, but there will also be a 20-foot landscape buffer. So there's 40 feet of open space currently between 78 and the first parking spaces. And there will be trees and other landscaping planted in that area to break up that concrete that you see today. Let me see if there's anything else on this one. So this is difficult, but I just wanted to put it in here. I know it's hard to read and a lot of information, but just to talk a little bit about the tanks that are going in. So it would be a double-walled tank. So you have the inner steel tank, and then around that is fiberglass for extra protection. That is put into a containment system before it's put in. There are alarms. There are all sorts of double protections that are required by TCEQ for new tanks, for new gas stations, to prevent any sort of leaking. And then this is top of the line. So again, not a lot to understand here, but I did want to point out that what precautions are being taken to avoid any future spillage on the site. Landscape plan, I think this was pretty important. So there will be significant landscaping. There's also existing trees towards the back between the VFW property and this that you can see on the plan. The required number of trees to be planted by code was 29, and they're planting 43. 8 of those trees will be planted in a buffer that's at least 20 feet, and it gets a little larger, between the property and the residential use to the, let's just say, right on the site plan. So in addition to those 8 trees, I think there's 55 shrubs that will also be planted there, as well as the 8-foot masonry wall. So they're taking precautions to provide some buffer between this proposed use and the existing home. And happy to discuss that in a little bit more detail as well. And here's just the car wash, and again, the masonry for this. And with that, I think we're happy to answer any questions. We appreciate your consideration. As was mentioned quite a bit, this used to be a gas station, and we think this is a significant improvement to what was there, to the current conditions. And the idea, there were comments about traffic. The idea here with the use is to capture existing traffic. It's not necessarily a destination, but somewhere that people can go to get some small groceries, to get some food, and then obviously with traffic that is subject to TxDOT review, and we are showing the 2 access points that are also subject to TxDOT review. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you. All right, this is a public hearing. It is 7:37. I'll open the floor for public comment. If no need to raise your hand, just come on up, and please, if you will, your name and address for the record.
Hi, my name is James Ferrato. It's my mother-in-law's property. Is there any way we can go back to a different picture to the site, or no?
Sure. So staff will get that for you here. I was going to have them bring it up anyway, so thank you. So probably the aerial, if you will.
We can go back to that one you were just on first. Yeah, that one. All right, so I want you guys to imagine your house is number 4. Nothing's been there. There has been a gas station there before, but what happened to it? What gas station have you seen other than Buc-ee's that's kept up, right? So, okay, it's nice for 5 years. Then what happens? Starts going downhill, starts turning to garbage. So imagine living next to that. Imagine that being, undisturbed, and they're gonna have this huge gas station come in. You're gonna have lights. Like, how do you not have lights come into your house, your backyard? You're gonna have pedestrians. There's an apartment complex that's not the best. You're gonna have people walking through your yard to come here. Like I said, it's gonna be loud. They're gonna do a drive-through Burger King on this side. My mother-in-law's house is right here, so every time a car comes in, there's gonna be light flashing. So we're going from 32 years to nothing there. There was a gas station, I give them that. It was crappy, but hey, when they first built it, it probably wasn't crappy. The other thing is, from this gas station, 1 mile this way is a Valero, 1 mile this way is, I think, a Chevron, and then a Shell. So is it really even needed in this area? What value is it gonna bring? Like I said, my mother-in-law's been a Schertz resident for her whole life. Why aren't they building this in Stone Oak or somewhere like that? Why on 78? It's already real busy with traffic. There's all kinds of safety issues. This might look nice in the beginning, but like I said, in the end, it's not gonna be great. I understand VFW had problems with this land and people doing that. Mother-in-law's dealt with the same thing. And of course, it'd be great if someone keeps up with this and makes it nice. But this business in this area, it really puts a damper. And I hope you guys I know before living somewhere, they built houses behind us, and we thought it was the end of the world. It was like, oh, they promised they wouldn't build anything. We felt like we lost our privacy. And that was just a house. That was residential. This is going to bring in lots of people, and that's going to, look how close that is to her house, to her yard. So like I said, VFW, I understand they like it. They don't live there. That's the big issue. They don't have to deal with this every day. But, so like I said, I hope you guys consider that. It's really stressing my mother-in-law out. It's bringing up a lot of stuff, and there's a lot of concerns. There's like runoff from the pavement going into her property. It's like, say she's on a water well. What do we do about that? You can't tell me nothing, like this is improving her life. It's not. Like, who is this helping? So I just hope you guys consider that. I know living in Schertz, living in this area, if you haven't dealt with this, you're gonna deal with this pretty soon. Like y'all's other planning meeting, it's coming, it's here. And it's up to you guys right now to plan and try to decide what this city's gonna be like in the future. And I hope you guys consider, I know it's just one lady, but she's been in that spot for 32 years. And this is a huge gas station. It's not like it's pushed up forward, like they said. It's further back. It's almost lined up with their house. So it's going to be this huge thing with lights and noise. And like I said, it's going to stop her from being able to enjoy being outside and doing all that. And it's going to bring more people to that area. So like I said, I hope you guys consider that. And I would appreciate y'all's time. And thank you for your guys' service with the city.
You're welcome. Thank you, sir. Anyone else? No one? All right, it is now 7:41 and the public input is closed. Commissioners?
Yeah, I had a a question. Do we know when the gas station last functioned at that location? About 10 years ago?
It's about 10 years, yeah. It's one of those things you drive by it every day and it sits there, but you really don't pay a lot of attention to it. So, yeah. Did you have something?
Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to note that it was actually open until pretty recently. So it may have seemed like it was closed, but it hasn't been closed for that long.
All right. The buildings came down last year, I think you said,
In
right?
December of 2022.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it ceased about 2 years ago.
Oh, okay.
Anyone else?
Yeah, so the current tank that's there, do we know what material that's made of and how it differs from what's proposed?
Well, let me put on my fire marshal hat here, okay? And Ms. Owens, a lot of what we're talking about is because of your input, okay? I wanted to try to have somebody address your concerns as much as we could. You know, this station was probably built back in the mid to late 80s, I would say, and tank technology and environmental concerns were entirely different back then. Chances are it's a single wall steel tank buried in the ground. Now, as the applicant mentioned, they've done the environmental analysis and there's no indication of contamination. All right, new installations, and she had a good picture of it up there. They're double wall tanks. There is an airspace between the tank that contains the fuel and the outside wall of the tank. That's a requirement of all the new installations. And then there are monitoring sensors that are placed in that interstitial space to monitor for leaks. When they're put in the ground, they're put in a what did you call it? Yeah, they're just not stuck in a hole and buried with dirt anymore. New gas stations, the environmental concerns are really significant when it comes to their responsibility for monitoring. There's a whole bank of equipment in one of the back rooms somewhere that all it does is monitor and record those tanks. Okay? Does that help? Yeah.
Yes,
I mean,
it
we
does.
used to, and then they're pressure tested before they're put in place. And we used to monitor those pressure tests. They have to pump them up to a certain pressure and what they're doing, and then they have to monitor them for several hours for leaks before they ever put them in the ground. No, I'm sorry, that's, hopefully I'll get to it though, without you having to ask, okay? Anyone else?
The way I see it, if it was pumping gas 2 years ago, it should still be an existing use for them to have the gas pumps and the convenience store. Am I correct with that assumption or not?
So it is not. So the convenience store with gas pumps, since they didn't have an existing specific use permit approved for the site, it would be considered a non-conforming use. That non-conforming use can continue to operate, but as soon as that operation ceases for more than 180 days, it can no longer restart. So even if they wanted to just make modifications to the existing, say that the convenience store was still there and they just wanted to make modifications, enlarge it, maybe add the Burger King to it somehow, they would still have to come through the specific use permit process, even if it was, you know, functioning and they just wanted to expand the store.
Thank you.
Okay, I'd like a little clarification. Yeah, come on up. The masonry wall, can you put up one of the conceptual plans with the landscaping? So where does the wall actually go? Will that be adjacent to the property line? And the landscaping and the trees will all be on the applicant's side, correct?
That is correct. So the masonry wall, so number 4, right, it's zoned general business, but the way that the code reads is if it's zoned or used for residential purposes, then the commercial has to install that masonry wall and the landscape buffer. So the masonry wall will be installed on this property line, and then the 20-foot landscape buffer is installed on the convenience store portion.
Okay.
So that 20-foot landscape buffer will have trees, buffers, trees and bushes in that area there. And then the wall will be on that property line.
Okay. Can you talk about the city's lighting standards? I know one of the concerns is light spillage and how, can you address our lighting standards?
I will do my best.
Okay.
So in the city of Schertz, lights, they are reviewed as part of the building permit process, and there is a foot candle requirement. So far from the property, you can have a certain foot candle of lighting basically go onto the adjacent property, but all lights in the city of Schertz have to be shielded down, and all of that is considered as part of the UNIC requirements. I don't know if that is adequate enough.
Yeah, I know it's kind of hard to say, but I had a discussion with somebody the other day about the whole Dark Skies initiative. And it was up in New Braunfels, and we drove through a new subdivision where the street lighting looked like it was all flat LED. I mean, it was perfectly horizontal, and they were all LEDs. So no more of this Cobra head lighting with lights. Is that similar to what?
So the city we haven't officially adopted dark skies from JBSA Randolph, but we do have very specific lighting standards that are evaluated with that building permit. And only a certain amount of lighting can basically leave the subject property.
Okay. So we can't guarantee that you're not going to get some light spilling over that wall, but the city will, does their best, and it's not just you, it's everybody. I live up in Savannah Square, and we had, when Walgreens built, there was a lot of concern about the lighting, because that backs right up to the first row of houses in the subdivision. Haven't heard a lot about that lately, but and you know, why do they want to build it there? It's a business decision. It's, you know, they're watching all of those cars drive by in the morning and the afternoon, going and coming to Randolph, and that's, to answer your question, that's why they want to build it there. I know I had something else, but unfortunately I didn't write it down. Oh, I was going through Ms. Owen's letter here. So I've tried to address your concerns about leaks and the fact that you know, the installations these days are all about environmental safety. I spent 25 years in the fire department, and during that time, I saw maybe 3 or 4 fires at gas stations, but they were all isolated to the fill neck on the vehicles. We never really had what you see in Hollywood, where these things go boom. That's not the real world. They don't. You know, as a fire protection professional, I can tell you it doesn't work like that. Okay. And the other thing I'm wrestling with, because I certainly don't want to discount your concerns, but the neighbor next door to you, now granted they're a little bit further away but they're all in favor of it. The VFW, you know, it just kind of makes it harder, you know. Commissioners, who's got some more?
Do we know what type of lights are proposed to be placed there along that fence?
So Ashley can come and respond, but the only thing I'll say is, right, keep in mind, what you're acting on tonight is if a convenience store with gas pumps is an appropriate land use on this property. So
Okay.
regardless of the lights that Ashley identifies, they need to meet our city standards, our codes, if the SUP were to be approved. So just keep that in mind. But
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for keeping us straight.
Yeah, I think the lighting will go above and beyond what's required by code. It will be the LED cutoff, downward-facing lighting. And you know, I think it's a delicate balance here between safety, because there has to be some lighting for safety, but then also being very sensitive to adjacent businesses, adjacent homeowners. So the side of the building that's closest to the home, you know, would have minimal lighting, enough to light the drive-through and the side for safety purposes, and that would be the full shield cutoff downward LED lighting. So,
Thank you.
I have a quick question for you as well. I know you said there's the wall buffer.
Yes.
Do you know what the height would be on that?
8 feet.
8 feet, okay. Yeah.
The 8 feet masonry wall, yeah.
Question. Emily, on the light standards, I've read that thing often. My question is, whose responsibility is it to measure the light diffusion or the light on the residential property today, and then the light on the residential property after construction to determine if there's too much infiltration?
I don't think there is any. I think it'll be an engineer and an architect. Oh, uh-oh, here he comes. Okay.
All right. I saw you nodding off. That's why I was.
Yeah, no, so typically the way it works is, you know, we go out in an inspection. If it seems too bright, then we'll contact the developer, and either we'll get them to get a lighting expert to come in and do the measurements, or I think in a couple of cases, we've gone out and gotten one and done some quick measurements around the property line when we've had an issue, is how we've done it. So typically what we'll do is we would withhold the CO because the lighting looks too bright and get them to provide somebody. And often, in other cities I've worked in, we've had staff go out with them with the light meter and checked it. And again, the way we do it typically is you go out at night, and you flip the lights off from the site, take a measurement, have them flip them on, and see how much it goes up. And that's how we've dealt with it when we've had an issue.
Okay, so it'll be a matter between the city and the developer, not the property owner, as far as expense goes?
Yeah, I mean, we typically would sort it out. I mean, ultimately, if it's a little bit of an odd thing. We've never had a big issue with it because typically, they've had somebody design the lighting and that company has people with light readers and can come out and do it. So we've never had a lot of blowback. If we have a site that has been in existence for a few years and we've got somebody complaining about it, it's a little bit of a different thing, but we just never had a big issue with it on a new CO. And certainly, I think it's one that my assumption is, knowing it's a sensitive issue, I doubt there's, I'm seeing nods that, yeah, we can plan, if this thing gets approved and gets built, to go out with a light meter and make sure we check it. Again, covers all of us, covers them from having a problem down the road, covers the city, and then helps folks who, can appreciate their concerns know, yeah, it meets the lighting standards. I mean, again, you get two issues, and I think you guys hit on them. One is, it's the amount of lighting that carries over to the property line, right? You don't want your backyard to be lit up all the time. And that we've got a standard for. But the other problem that we don't really have a standard for is when you're standing in your backyard, even if you don't have a lot of spillover, when you look that direction, it's going to be lit up, right? That's the thing that is going to be different and is an issue with some folks too. So,
Brian, before you leave, I got a comment.
I had another one.
Okay, go ahead. I just didn't want him to run away.
You said, I know this is an SUP question, but you put all this on the wall, so I have to comment on it. But on the site plan, the trash receptacles are right next to the residential property. In the future, when this comes up again, could you move those someplace else? There's a lot of room on the property. Those receptacles could be moved away from the residential property.
So you want to chime in? Yeah, I mean, you can certainly, P&Z as part of your recommendation, if you want, can recommend to move them away. And so I guess the obvious that seems to be is if they moved it to the other side, across kind of right there, that seems to be the obvious place to put it.
On the left-hand side.
That's right. But again, I don't know if you want to pull up the aerial just so we can make sure there's not some other neighbor there.
Well, it's the VFW. Yeah.
So to me, we would just move it to the other side. It makes sense, get it a little further away.
Well, and it's the 6 a.m. dumping that causes the,
I understand
yeah.
we struggle with that.
So, Brian, I've got a question for you. And, excuse me, nothing to do with that, but I'm going to jump over the other side of that 8-foot fence.
Okay.
And the property in question is on a well. Now, when we put in septic tanks, if there's a waste tank that comes by, they're expected to hook. Is that the same thing with the water?
Tell me that again. I'm going to make sure I know.
If somebody was on a septic tank and then the city ran a sewage line in front of their house, they're expected to connect to that sewage line, correct?
The city has a requirement in our ordinance that says if the city comes in and it's poorly worded, but within your certain distance of that line, we can require you to tie on to the sewer system. We have not done that, to my knowledge, and I'm working with Larry since I've been here. But yeah, there's that requirement.
So let's move that over to the water requirement. There's obviously water supply to that area, but she's still on a well. So isn't there that capability to hook to the city water?
So let me say, I don't think and Larry, you can yell from there. I don't think we have the same requirement where the city can require you to tie into a water line that we do with sewer. But certainly if there is a city line, it's not a transmission main, and there's adequate capacity, then an adjacent property owner who was on well water, who hadn't developed, could come in and request to tie on, and we'd evaluate that. Often what you get there is a cost to doing that.
Understand,
Yeah.
but since the city doesn't have that requirement, then it's our job on P and Z to make sure that she's taken care of, because she's on the well. That's in my mind. When we're gonna put something like this in there, and I understand that there's no possibility of leakage or anything else, but whatever the reason, any type of contamination, since we don't have that requirement, and yet there's water available, then I feel it's our responsibility to listen to her concerns.
Yeah, so let me be clear. I don't disagree that you can consider a wide variety of things, including those sort of concerns, in your recommendation with regard to the appropriateness of that SUP. I agree entirely.
Well, again, this is it's really a site plan issue, but in zooming in and looking at it, I'm kind of curious to why the masonry wall doesn't extend across the northern edge of that residential property. It just runs north to south. It doesn't run west to east across the end. Shouldn't it be there as well?
Here. So again, I will say, this is a conceptual site plan, does not meet all of our requirements.
Okay. But here's the
Hasn't-
problem, Emily. This is the only opportunity we get to look at this. Site plan approval has been delegated to you folks.
Yep.
So if we don't comment about it at this stage, we never see it again.
So I'll say the
Okay.
flip side is, right, with the Unified Development Code update for specific use permits, we don't have to bring conceptual site plans at all. The goal behind this is so at least you get some kind of concept of what could be there. Ultimately, the SUP does not approve this conceptual site plan. You're just, if it were to be approved, would just be approving a convenience store with gas pumps. If they come in, if the SUP is approved and choose to build half of this convenience store that's shown on the site plan, it would still be under that same SUP and could move forward with the land use. So again, it's the conceptual, it's a pretty picture, but it hasn't been fully evaluated to meet all of the city requirements.
I understand that, and that was one of my objections to removing the site plan from the SUP process. Okay? We'll
Yes.
just-
So as Brian stated, the Planning and Zoning Commission, as part of the SUP recommendation process, can, as we mentioned on the dumpster, can require certain conditions, can require a layout, a conceptual layout as part of the recommendation to City Council.
Yeah, so what you could do in this case is you could say, we recommend approval of the SUP if that's how you want to go, but we want to attach the conceptual layout and say the property shall develop generally consistent with the conceptual layout, but we want to make sure that the dumpster is moved to the west side of the property as
Okay.
part of that.
So theoretically, when they come to you with the site plan, you as staff should see what I saw, that wall,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
Okay. I'll leave it there. Thank you. Now, I want to throw a little realism in here, Ms. Owens. That whole property, including the property your house is on, is zoned general business. The only reason we're here tonight is because they want gas pumps. They could build this thing tomorrow without gas pumps and not have to ask anybody's permission. It's one of those things where it's already zoned, and if you were to go to the Unified Development Code, there's a whole list of things that could be built here by right. They don't even have to come in and ask. If if all they wanted to build was a Burger King, they could build it. And we'd have nothing to say about it, correct? So, the only thing we have any control over here right now is whether or not they get to put in gas pumps. So, Commissioners, anything else? All right, well, this is a recommendation to City Council to either approve or deny PLSPU 2022-20116.
I'll make a motion to approve, as we've discussed, moving the trash receptacles and including that wall.
Okay, I have a motion to recommend approval contingent upon moving the dumpster location and ensuring that the masonry wall I don't know how to write it, you know.
Can you write it so that the masonry wall runs the entire property line that borders 1028 FM 78, which is her property? So that the wall comes around that corner, east to west, or left to right, and
Are you good with that, Patrick? Yes. Okay. So that's the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Was that Commissioner Bro? All right, I have a motion and a second to recommend approval to City Council with those two conditions. Any further discussion? Call for the vote.
aye.
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 Aye. 7 ayes, none opposed, that motion passes. Item number 6, requests and announcements. Any requests by commissioners to place items on a future planning and zoning agenda? Any announcements by commissioners? Announcements by city staff?
Okay. Okay, staff has approved a site plan for a 160-acre industrial development. It's going to be over off of Scenic Lake Drive and I-10, close to 1604. The site plan is for it's close to a 600,000 square foot building and another 460 square foot building, Building A and Building B. That is phase 1 of the development, and that is what has been approved.
The other site plan tonight is for the FM 1518 apartment, so you did approve the final plat this evening. This is the associated site plan for it, so you can see the 8 buildings that are proposed, the clubhouse. They are doing a playground area, a barbecue pit area, so that is that. There's a zoom in picture for you. And then the other item is just a reminder about the banquet, the appreciation banquet. So it is August 8th, Tuesday, August 8th from 6:30 to 8:30 in the Civic Center. And you are asked if you would like to attend to please RSVP by August 3rd to Cherie. I think everybody got one of these flyers tonight and then also got it in your emails.
All right, thank you. So item number 7, there's information available in your packet on our current projects that have gone forward to City Council. It is 8:09 and this meeting is adjourned.